Hogstye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hogsty. After a brutal loss to Atlanta, one that I missed because I was at my cousin's wedding.
Good game to
But
miss.
yeah, good game to miss. Although I will say there was, well, if you were an Atlanta fan, no. But my cousin, that family's all Giants fans, and I'm a Washington fan. No one's happy about football after
They were
last
probably
week.
pretty happy last week. The Giants.
Well, that's true. That's true. But the Giants have not been good overall. And also, there was a lot of blood involved in the wedding just because my grandmother's 97 and she took a little injury to the legs, and I had to,
Tourniquet?
pressure. Yeah, I had to do a makeshift tourniquet on my grandmother.
Did you really? I
Yeah.
thought you were joking about a lot of blood. You were dead serious, huh?
No. She cut both of her legs, like 3-inch cuts on each leg.
Wow.
Old people
Wow.
bleed easy, right? They get injured very easily.
She's okay, I hope, though, right?
Oh yeah, she's fine.
Okay.
Okay. I just got a lot of blood. Luckily, none on my new suit, but all over my hands.
We do have our fourth cast member here with us tonight. He is barking like a madman at 3 dogs walking by my house. So he will chime in. He was very upset about your grandmother. That was what his original comment was.
That's what it is. Yes. I mean,
There's
97.
passion going on there.
97. I'm just happy she's still around. That's the truth, though.
Yeah.
It's a long run. Escaped the Nazis, she did. So tough old bird. Anyway, let's talk about the game. We got to talk about the upcoming game versus the Chargers and some injuries and roster moves that are going on. Good week of conversation coming up on the show. Let's start with the bad news first, though. The Washington Commanders losing to the Falcons. I'm sorry, I know I said the bad word.
The
Steve.
Washington who?
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you give us some numbers?
Point out that I'm wearing
You're wearing your Redskins shirt. I'm just wearing a black shirt with a Viking thing on it.
It's really because
not
this
the
is what my
Vikings,
hand
just
touched.
Vikings. Yeah.
I'm wearing this only because my hand happened to touch the shirt first when the dog and I came back from our run right before the show.
Like any man, you should just grab the top shirt on the pile at all times.
Yes. It was hanging in a closet, but yes.
Right. Well, okay. There's two piles. One is the work appropriate. One is the non-work.
I don't have a pile though. They're hanging on hangers in a closet.
Well, okay. I keep mine in drawers. My t-shirts. That's technically a pile, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So Washington obviously lost this game 34-27 in a game that was not that close.
No.
Marcus Mariota went 16 for 27 or 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked twice, quarterback rating of 84.8. Leading rusher was Chris Rodriguez, 7 carries, 54 yards, long of 48. That's average of 8.4 yards per carry. Of course, that also equates to 6 for 11. If you subtract the one long run out of it. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt was 7 for 47 with a long of 16. That's 6.7 yards per carry. Marcus Mariota was 2 for 20. Goes down from there. Receiving, Deebo Samuel was the leading receiver, 6 for 72. 1 touchdown, long of 24. Luke McCaffrey is 2 for 21. Zach Ertz is 2 for 21. Jalen Lane, 2 for 18. Tay Martin, 1 for 14. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 2 for 10. In terms of defense, we're going to get to him, but technically speaking, Bobby Wagner was the leading tackler again with 10 tackles. And kick returns, Luke McCaffrey, 6 returns, 199 yards, long of 58. Kobe that.
Yep. So
Tressway, 2 for 89.
Oh, there we are. 2 for 89 for Tressway.
Oh, Tressway.
Steve having to mute a lot because of the dog there. We all kind of hear him cutting in and out. Yeah. 2 for 89. So Tressway did not beat the rest of the offense. I don't think he has yet this season, has he? Even versus Green Bay, he didn't.
No, he hasn't. It's not been fun. No, he hasn't.
Right. All right. So let's get into it. We'll start talking about the offense, I guess. Mariota, not a great day. Obviously, kind of came back to earth. Still, overall, fairly efficient for a backup. I would say statistically, like these are the kind of numbers you expect from a number two, even a decent number two. You never expect your backups to throw for 300 yards or
right.
4 touchdowns.
He's not a normal backup. First of all, I don't want to read. I did want Kobe was crazy. But Drake London was 8 for 110 yards receiving for the Falcons. Right. Bijan Robinson's 4 for 106. Kyle Pitts was 5 for 70. And then Robinson had 17 carries for 75 yards on the ground. And then Michael Penix was 20 for 26, 313 yards. His quarterback rating was 126. So I want to get that, but again, Kobe was going.
Oh, nuts. Yeah. Thanks for getting the other side. And you didn't mention Tyler Algier, their number 2 running back, also had a pretty productive day, a heavy workload of 16
for 51.
Yeah.
51,
Not a lot of yardage, but that's a heavy workload in terms of the total carries.
But in terms of Marcus Mariota, I mean, he didn't look particularly good. He was also under a tremendous amount of pressure. I mean, they only, got to him, twice, but right. He had a pretty tough day in terms of time and in space.
Mm-hmm.
And the receivers didn't look good. They didn't create a lot of separation. He did make a few bad passes. I mean, do you look more like an average backup? Yes, but he's not supposed to be an average backup.
It's baffling about Mariota. This is, I mean, again, when they were, I think it was like second down when they were inside their 10-yard line, he did an RPO. He had the whole left side of the field to run, but he hands it off when he has a linebacker and a defensive lineman right there in the lap of Chris Rodriguez. I'm like, for a guy who spent his entire career in college and the majority of his NFL career running RPOs, he has been terrible at doing RPOs for this team this year. Absolutely terrible. Because even in the game, even the last game, I'm sitting there from my seats going, keep the ball. You have the whole left side of the field open. He's just not seeing it.
I have noticed that too. He has not been good at that.
Well, let's be honest though. Jaden Daniels also is struggling with RPO stuff, and maybe it's something at the coaching level where they're not teaching him, or they're not being shown where to read correctly.
Of course, we haven't seen Jaden Daniels in 2 weeks, so
no. But the first 2 weeks, he did not look good in the RPO game either.
I could get that with the Jaden Daniels side, but Mariota, before he came to Washington, has been running this for his entire career. So regardless of what you're getting out of Kingsbury and that offensive staff, he should still be able to recognize that, in my opinion anyway. He's been absolutely atrocious in running it.
If you want to be honest, I mean, the whole team has looked off the entire year.
Offensively,
the entire season.
Yeah.
Offensively. And in many respects, Steve, but we're talking about offense. I mean, no, Daniels didn't look good. Mariota didn't look good. The offensive line has not been good at creating running lanes. Like these rushing numbers have been really boosted a lot by a handful of long runs.
Right.
What they haven't done is consistently produced 4.5 to 5 yards a carry, through whatever combination of backs. And in terms of pressure, they've allowed a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, be it Mariota or Daniels. Considering the resources they put into the offensive line, I don't think that it has performed up to the level of expectations. Whether that's coaching, whether that's players, I suspect it's a combination of both.
Yeah,
both things. Even like Laramie Tunsil's gotten a bunch of penalties, a couple penalties. So it's something is off.
We talked about this last week with the running game. They're definitely transitioned into a full-on zone rushing attack at all times. And I don't think the 3 guys that they have can do the workload of like 30 carries a game. First off, they're rarely using all 3 heavily in the running attack. This week it was really just Rodriguez and Krosky-Merritt.
Well, they had 14 carries between them.
Right.
Those 2.
You want to run 20 to 30 times, I feel like, for a game like this, right? Like, not 14. That's kind of my point, is they don't have if you're going to do this, I think they really need to find a third guy they really trust. McNichols was good for a week ago, but I don't know if he's a week in, week out kind of guy.
Look, this is who they have this year.
Yeah.
They're not going to find somebody on scrap heap that can all of a sudden come in here and become
Another
Saquon
10
Barkley
carry,
or whatever,
or
or
even
John
just be
Riggins
10
or
carries reliably.
no,
Yeah.
not at this point they aren't.
No.
And so this is what it is. And at times, Krosky Meredith look good. At
Mhm.
times, Chris Rodriguez has looked good.
Right.
Austin
McNichols
Eckler's
looked
had a
good at
moment.
times.
Yeah. McNichols had a moment or two. I didn't mean Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
McNichols had a moment or two, but none of them have been consistently performing. That is my point.
Well, the one thing
Kobe
I noticed
agrees.
with Krosky Merritt is that when he gets multiple touches in a row, it kind of lends to the fact that I think he might be a volume type of runner. I'm not saying 25, 30 carries a game, but to keep giving him the ball on a consistent basis because he seems to have a more natural feel for the running lanes. He has a more natural feel in terms of adapting to what the defense is doing in front of him because you saw in a couple of his cuts where he was going off to the right and right away he make that one quick cut, come right to the left and find a hole and get 6 to 7 yards. But if you're not keeping him on the field long enough to establish a rhythm in that game, I mean, you're kind of defeating the purpose of what he potentially brings. I mean, he's never going to give you Saquon Barkley type numbers, but he can probably give you a nice consistent trend of rushes and then spell him with the Chris Rodriguez. I think he needs to be a primary back, maybe get like 14 to 18 carries a game. You offset that with Chris Rodriguez and Jerry McNichols. That's where I think the direction they need to try to go and see what he does when you start giving him, more than just 3 carries, 4 carries, and then you put him on the sidelines for a whole series. You just kind of start giving him more touches consecutively. Then you can really see what he does with more volumes going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very fair and insightful criticism,
Yeah.
critique. Maybe that works. I mean, I'm not convinced he's ready to be a starting back like that. But at
Mhm.
this point, you might as well give it a shot and see if it works.
Right.
Because that is more what he did in college. For obviously didn't play last year, but for the last year he played. So you might as well try it.
So I do think part of I remember hearing, I think it was John Keim I was listening to, said that one of the reasons Merritt's not out there is or more not playing more snaps is they don't trust him yet in pass coverage and they don't trust him yet in all those other little things. Like
Well,
he's a very
he wasn't good at that in college.
right. He's a
Right.
very good. I think he's got very good vision. He's a solid runner. I don't know if he's going to be like a breakout star once all that comes together with the other aspects of running. It probably won't, but I think there is a higher ceiling than what we're seeing. But I did pull up the snap counts for the 3 running backs in this last game, 2020-19. They are dividing this about as evenly amongst the 3 right now as they can.
Accident.
No, it's not an
Right.
accident at all. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think
But-
this is about developing these guys a little
Part
bit.
of this is also the offensive line.
Mhm.
I mean, again, none of us are offensive line film experts. We need Robbie Duncan or somebody in here, or
Right.
Rob Henson or somebody. But it sure doesn't seem like there are consistent rushing lanes to me in these games.
Well, we saw in the
you know-
first couple weeks that the combination of Coleman and Algier just wasn't working very well at all. So what was it? The Raiders game they put in. They had Chris Paul. They put Chris Paul in I think halftime or whatever, and they brought in Andrew Wiley, and they were starting to get more production out of just the line itself, a total. So
Mhm.
I think going for I think these next couple weeks will probably will really show what this offensive line will end up being once these 2 guys settle in there, because I think they're going to be the guys going forward at the moment.
Well, I mean, there are some changes coming, as we will talk about later,
Yes.
obviously, too. That's part of it.
And that's going to be a huge lift, obviously.
I hope
Yes.
so. I'd hope so. It is interesting because, obviously the raw numbers, like you said, Steve, they're thrown off by these big runs that the teams had. But at the same time, if you were to think back to last year, I don't think we ever saw big runs.
I'm
either.
not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying
No,
is,
I'm not saying you
if
are.
you like
but...
if those of you and you know anything about statistics, what I'm saying is like the median,
mm-hmm.
the average is boosted, but the
Right.
median is a lot different than the average because of these long runs. The long runs are good. We're pro long run.
Right.
But what I'm saying is they're not producing at otherwise at the level that the team would need. And
Right.
if you take and the average is going to be higher than the median in this
Right.
case.
So to me,
so
it comes
basically
down to... Go ahead, Dave.
So basically, what you're looking at, and what I'm assuming you're saying is a team that's averaging, say, anywhere from like 4.7 to 5 yards a carry. That's boosted because of the multiple long runs. But you take that away, they're roughly about 4.4, 4.5.
Yes, right.
That's where you want to be in terms of your median and where you want to be. But this team is slightly below that. I think they're like right around 4.1.
From like a statistical basis, what median would measure is where are the most sets of data, where are the most data points.
Right.
You know, and whereas the average is going to take the average of all of them, which is boosted by like Chris Rodriguez 58-yard run. But if most of the other runs are at 3 yards a carry, which they were better in this game, at least Krosky Merritt was better in this game, Rodriguez wasn't. But what you would want is more the median up at like 4.5 yards a carry. That's how you can really sustain an offense, is having
right. Everyone needs to go back to elementary school math, median, and mode, and remember the slight differences.
I don't know if that's elementary school, but yes.
I don't remember if it's elementary or middle school. It's one of them, right?
Definitely middle school.
Is that middle school? Okay.
Yes.
It's been a long time for all of us. I don't remember it.
I'm the one who's done all these crazy statistical studies of this stuff, so I've had to relearn it.
Yeah. Mode was the one I always had trouble with, but we won't get into that right
well,
now.
Let's not get into that.
No. All right. To me, there's the statistical side, and then there's also the gut check side about football, of course. When it comes to the running game, it's when you ask, hey, it's 3rd and 3, do you trust your run game to get you 3 yards?
No, they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And that to me is where this team is still lacking. I trust this run game to produce yards overall. I trust them to have a big run. I trust them to maybe even have 2 every game. And that, like we said, it's like a big pass. Yay, love it, love big plays. But we need the bread and butter. We need this, the simple stuff that you can rely on, that can be the backbone of the team. And I still don't think they've fully found that yet.
No, they have not. And the other thing about the offense is, certainly we recognize that both 2 starters were out.
Right.
Okay, but
probably their 2 most important starters.
Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, McLaurin hasn't looked good all year, and Noah Brown's been hurt basically. But the guys who are out there did not get separation for the most part. They have to do better. I don't know if they will, and they have a better team coming up this week. We'll get to the Chargers, but the receiving core is a shadow of what Washington hoped it would be in the offseason.
Actually, I think they finally found where Luke McCaffrey's role is. He's a solid number 3, number 4 guy to keep on the field, more of an underneath possession type of guy. Doesn't great speed, but he's been very, very good in terms in the return game. And like what I read someone say today, is the fact that with the new kicking format, he's very, very effective on returns on that. So you have a guy in him that can actually help with total yards from scrimmage. He's going to give you every game. He's going to be a guy showing good, reliable hands, good route runner. So he's a guy behind a healthy Debo and McLaurin hitting, and they're gelling and doing well. I think in terms of Luke McCaffrey, I think you have yourself a nice little counter.
Did you forget who you were talking about there for a minute?
Yes, I did actually, a little bit.
This is what happens when you do podcasts.
Yeah, I started drifting off onto a different. I went to say Christian McCaffrey. I paused myself and I forgot his entire name on the whole process.
I just told somebody today that I think this group, us 3 here, I think if you gave me an hour to study something, I think we could do an hour podcast on literally any topic because we can babble and we don't even know what we're saying half the time.
That is true. That is definitely true.
We're just babblers. But look, in terms of Luke McCaffrey, I mean, it's called development. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Not only was he a rookie last year, he was actually a very inexperienced receiver. Don't forget he was a quarterback.
Right.
Yep.
And so yes, did Washington overdraft him? Clearly because of his last name. We can admit that. It's okay to say it.
Yep.
They shouldn't have drafted him in third round. But however, he was going to get better.
Sure.
And I think he has a little bit because you point out, Dave. I mean, he's whether by accident because of injury, but he has carved out a little bit of a role. Is he going to be an explosive game breaker? No, but can he catch passes in the middle of the field, on short to middle routes? Yes.
Right. I mean,
and
look,
he's done that.
he's now had a touchdown in back-to-back games, 2 more touchdowns than he had all last season. So that we could say that's a net positive.
He didn't. This is his first touchdown a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Yep. So like you root for. I mean, I don't think any of us, even though we might think he was overdrafted, like you said, none of us are rooting for him to fail. Obviously,
Right.
like you root for guys like this to develop and become better, carve out a niche. Like I've said, I've always thought I think he really should be being developed into like that other possession guy, because
that's what he is.
Yeah, that is what he should. That is what he is and what he should be.
The only guy I'm rooting for him to fail is Shedeur Sanders.
I'm
rooting to fail.
Actively, well, there's a couple. Come on, one of them just got hurt too.
No, I'm talking about of the newly drafted folks.
Oh, like this draft class. Sure.
There's a lot of people I'm petty enough to wish harm on.
Yeah. I don't know about harm, but rooting for failure, that's not. There's a difference. But
there's a couple of them.
Sure.
I'm gonna get myself in trouble.
No.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Can we say the Chris Moore experiment failed?
Was it even an experiment? I mean, it was off. It wasn't much of an experiment. He was minimum salary, off the practice squad. I don't know if I'd even deem that an experiment.
Okay, but I don't understand why he got as many snaps last week as he did.
Because 2 receivers are injured and they only have 6 on the roster. That's why.
Okay, I would have rather I would
have rather have had Ja'Cory Brooks. Undrafted free agent. He's a big body with speed, and if he catches one, that's one more than what you're going to get out of Moore anyway.
Yeah, my point would also be Chris Moore had 40 snaps, McCaffrey had 21, and Lane had 25. I would like to take those 40 snaps and just split them in half and give them to the 2 young guys that we're actually trying to develop.
And for those 40 snaps, Chris Moore only had 1 more reception than all of us did.
No, I think he had 0 last week, didn't he?
He had 1 reception. Well, I was looking at carries. Yeah, he had 0. Sorry, he had 1 carry.
Well, he had a drop, I
yards.
believe. I think
he
had a drop in that game, yes.
He had 3 targets, but 0 receptions.
Yeah.
And I thought he had 1 drop, though.
I'm pretty sure one was a drop. It's not marked
on
the
No, right.
Stats.
Right.
Yeah. But, one was definitely.
My point is, I don't know if you can call it an experiment if, they're signing guys from the practice squad and throwing them out there because a third of their receivers are injured. I don't know if that's an experiment.
Yeah, a third of their top. I would actually two of their top 3 receivers are hurt and not playing. So that that is a fair part of the problem there. And the injury bug has been bad for the team this year. I think we could just say that too. All right. The O-line overall, not a great day, decent day.
Not a great day at all.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think they let McCaffrey get killed back there. 2 sacks is not the end of the world.
But there was a lot of pressure and a lot of disruption.
Yeah.
I mean, you said McCaffrey, you meant Mariota, but
sorry,
right.
Yes.
And that's the other thing when you do these podcasts, you babble stuff out. I mean,
also, you just start rattling names at random.
Yeah. But I thought they were disruptive, is what I'm saying. Did they pound him into the ground a million times? No, but he's also very mobile. But it was disruptive, and it just the offense never really looked right the entire game. Because it really, to be honest, I mean, they scored 27 points. But if you really look at what this offense did, how many solid drives did they actually put together? I would say looking through this thing too.
Yeah.
They had
'Cause
11 plays, 76-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter, and 8 plays, 70 yards that ended in the second quarter. I mean, the
Yeah,
rest of
but
it
you're
were
also
crazy
you're
plays.
also talking about two scenarios where going into halftime, the Falcons sat back a little bit in the fourth quarter. The Falcons are sitting back a little bit because when the Falcons were applying pressure, I mean, there was absolutely hardly anything for Mariota out there to do. He had no time to throw the ball. To also be clear, I mean, Atlanta might be one of the better pass rush defenses that they're going to face all year. They've been actually very, very good in almost every statistical category for pass rush this year. So they've been very, very effective, and that's kind of who they are. So, but still, you expect the kind of improvement we expect from his O line at least contains some of that pressure, and they weren't able to do that.
All
I,
my point is that the offense produced. They had 2 good drives in this game, and the rest of them were not. Long sustained drives. That's all I was trying to
yeah, well,
point out.
they
Yeah,
only scored 2 offensive touchdowns the whole game. They
Right.
scored 12 points off of field goals.
Right.
Which I guess, yay, Matt Gay, you were 4 for 4 this week.
Oh,
So
yeah. I made that point
congratulations.
in my takeaways column this week.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Gay now has missed 3 kicks this year. 2 of them were above 50 yards. I mean, one of them was bad and, under 40. Okay. And he's made a mistake in kickoffs, but I mean, he made up for it a little bit in this game. I think he's worth,
It
another
buys
week
him
or
a little
two.
time. It buys him a little
Yes.
more time. Yep. No question about that. He went from uh well, he's at 70% now, which is still bad, but it's a marked
I mean, the
improvement.
fans have other people to hate right now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, let's flip sides, I guess, and talk about defense unless there's anything else you guys want to mention about the offense.
No, I mean, I think I've said what I'm
We're good.
gonna say. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say this might have been the worst defensive performance we've seen so far from this team. Is that a hot take or is that a nice cold take?
To me, no, I think it may be fair. They looked old and slow.
Mm-hmm.
And like Bobby Wagner looked. Granted, you shouldn't ever put Bobby Wagner on Drake London. I don't know how that
right.
happens,
Yeah.
but he just looked old and slow in this game, and they looked overmatched. I mean, the secondary is overmatched.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, again, Drake London, great talent. Kyle Pitts, great talent. Um, but the secondary has not looked great all year, and in this
No.
game, they really didn't at all. And rushing defense wise, I mean, Bijan Robinson didn't do great things. They were okay rushing, but he produced consistently, which is what Washington's running backs don't do.
Right.
So they didn't really stop him. They didn't let him go crazy, but they didn't really stop him either. Yeah. I mean, I know the fans complain about this being a coaching problem, and that Joe Witt is the hate parade of the day, I guess, or whatever, maybe. But I mean, to me, certainly that's part of it. Part of it is this player selection. There's a lot of old dudes on this defense,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yeah.
secondary hasn't worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we've seen that they did. I'm sorry, but the last thing is
yeah,
they have sacrificed pass rush,
Absolutely.
right.
for run defense, and we saw it again this week.
And that'd be fine if the run defense, and we've seen the run defense be effective. I mean, I'm
I
not
mean, they're not horror. They're not one of the worst in the NFL like they were
right.
last year. So it
This
hasn't
was
hurt.
the first week where the run defense really didn't do what you're hoping for. I would say, like they were okay versus Green Bay. I think they did very well in the other in the 2 wins. Um, but this is the first time where collectively you're talking about a team putting up over 100 yards on you, rushing the ball over 30 times. Like you got beat. I know Atlanta threw for 300 yards, but you really got beat in this one because Atlanta was able to run and you weren't able to stop them.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I put to me one of my game preview. I said the keys to the game was actually how the secondary measured up in the receiving game.
Mm,
Yeah, because Bijan Robinson was going to be Bijan Robinson.
Right.
He maybe wasn't going to get 180 yards. But
He
was
did
consistent.
collectively.
Yeah, but I'm talking about on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, he was always going to do his thing on the ground. The key was, could they stop him from going crazy? Yes. It was really the secondary that could not control Drake London and Bijan
Right.
Robinson and Kyle Pitts. That's what really did him in.
Oh, sure. No question. I mean, those were your three biggest statistical performers, and they didn't contain any of them
So once
really
again,
well.
old Steve
Yeah.
was right in the game
Yeah.
preview.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have, because I mean, going into this game, Bijan was averaging almost 5.1, 5.2 yards a carry, and he averaged 4.4. That's where I kind of differ in terms of what their run assessment was, because when you go against a guy like Bijan Robinson, if you can hold him under 4.5 yards a carry, a guy like that, I think your run defense did a very good job, because all you could do is contain a guy like Bijan. You're never really ever going to shut him down, just like Barkley, just like Derrick Henry on the most part. Those guys are very, very rare backs to shut down. You can only hope to contain them is all you can really ever do. And that's what they did. I think they did a solid job against Bijan. My biggest problem with this team right now is Lattimore is washed. He's done. I don't know what they have to do in terms of going forward, but if it was under my control, at very, very best for him, he comes in nickel situations. I'm done with him starting on that field. I know Sanders still hasn't started great this year, and I know he's more of a slot corner, but when they put him out to the corner outside last year, he started excelling and playing very well. In my opinion, you put him in Lattimore's spot, you put Ignabudu right there in the slot, in the primary slot, and whenever you need a fourth corner out there, that's where you get Lattimore, because I think it was Keim who put it not Keim, it was Grant Paulson who put it perfectly. You get two plays out of Lattimore every game. It's either a hold or he's beaten on the coverage. That's it. They're the only two things you can count on, and that's exactly what's been happening to him all year. And we saw it last year. We attributed it to the hamstring. We were hoping maybe rebound, but I think right now we got to move past Lattimore or whatever called. Now, I'm not saying cut him, because right now you still need him to a point. I get that. But people want to cry about the scheme with Witt, and I get it. He doesn't really dial up, any kind of real exotic schemes. But let's be honest. I mean, Steve, you said it. This team looked old. It looked slow. What kind of scheme are you going to run when your defense is at the age that it's at and you lack the depth, which really goes to this team prior to Adam Peters taking it over? This team was never going to be an overnight remake. It was going to take time, because this team lacked the talent, lacked the depth, lacked everything when he took it over. It's why I never bought the hype, and I'll say it again for everyone sitting in the back. I've been saying it all offseason. This team that people thought was a potential Super Bowl contender or an NFC East contender, y'all are dreaming. They are nowhere near any of that. Maybe challenge for a wild card spot, but they have never been
said that on
anywhere
this
near all
show,
that.
for the record. We never said that on this show, for the record. But look, here's the thing. It's cute to say that about Lattimore, and I don't even disagree with you, but he's making 7 times what all the other corners
I get
are
you.
combined,
I
okay,
get
in
you.
cap hit. They are not, or maybe 6 times more. They aren't going to bench him. They're not going to do that.
But right now, you have to look at it, man. No, it's like when he's on the field, he's killing you with bad penalties. He's getting beat off the line. He's not even physical like he was before. At some point, you got to go. We don't care how much money you're making. You're killing us on the field. If you want to have any chance at
They are
contend,
nowhere
you
near
got to
that
make that
point.
decision.
They are nowhere near that point. He's making
No.
way, 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 way too much money.
I get you.
It's just
But
business, Dave.
I know.
Plug
know,
for the other show.
Yeah. Sometimes whacking a guy is also just business. I'll put that out there.
Tony Soprano.
I think that might be The Godfather more than.
Okay. I think a variety of mobsters have said whack him.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, look, I think we all agree Lattimore If you were paying them all the same amount of money, Lattimore
No,
would
like
be the
you'd
fourth
sit
or
Lattimore,
fifth
you'd
guy.
bench him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd be done.
absolutely.
At this point, I don't know how many more bad games in a row it'll take for them to make that move because of the contract. Uh, it'll happen though at some point. If he keeps this play up, if he would have to have like 3 games in a row with an interception kind of situation, I think, to keep his job
Well, but
beyond
you
this year.
also, I
And
mean, okay, here's the corners on the team.
mhm,
Trey Amos, Noah Igbenogany, Marshawn Lattimore, Mikey Sandersill.
right,
Trey Amos is the best one. Sandersill's
easily,
performed. He's a
yep.
really a slot corner.
But
So how much?
he plays decently well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but if you bench Lattimore and you
right,
need a third corner, you have only Noah Igbenogany and then a bunch of a couple practice squatters.
right, right. I
That's
get
not a
that.
lot.
Thank goodness they did not trade Iggy. Like
Yeah, right.
there was talk about that
I
early in
just
the
think this
season.
is an off-season move. Really, is what we're talking about here. Because like next year he's got an $18.5 million cap with no dead cap at all.
Right.
There's no way they're going to keep him around. But I just don't know how they do that this year and replace him with what?
I I mean I think what Dave's arguing, and I could see it, would be he's really your fourth corner from here on out. There's a sunk
It just
cost,
Yes.
but
makes too
yeah.
much money. I mean, I just don't think teams are going to do that.
You're
Uh,
you're not wrong. I'm looking beyond the money right now. I'm talking about your performance wise and stuff. I get the money side, and you're not wrong, obviously. But it gets to the point. Do you want to have a serious path to the playoffs? That
right.
serious path does not, and right now, anyway, that serious path does not include
When
Lattimore as your starting corner.
Yeah, I think when you put money over merit, like eventually it could hurt your coaching staff if you do that. So, it is a tricky situation
Coach
though
has
from
been
the
doing it
GM,
for decades.
and that's why
Yep,
coaches get fired all the time.
that's true
Uh,
too.
yeah. All right, so let's wrap up talking about this game because it was not a fun game. Uh, do we want to do game balls? I don't know if there are any
Yes, of
game balls
course
to
we.
give
Yes,
out.
absolutely. Of course we do game balls.
All right,
You
Steve,
kidding me?
I'm assuming you have some red and black game balls to give out.
How do you know I'm not going to give it to a Washington player?
Oh well, Washington wears red and black too now, which is awful.
That's true. No, Drake London gets a game ball. Are you kidding me? Drake London, 110 yards receiving, made Washington's corners look silly. He definitely gets the offensive game ball. Nobody really deserves much of a defensive game ball, I
No,
would say, in this. Um, you know, but if I gotta give one, who do we give it to? Oh, tough. This is a tough one.
there were only
Um,
2 good plays by the defense all day, so it's going to be probably one of those 2 guys.
I was gonna give it to Frankie Louvu for getting a sack, and just because his name's Frankie Louvu.
Okay, that's
There you
fair.
go.
That's
But
one of the two
definitely Drake
guys.
London on the offensive side.
That was one of the 2 guys. So,
Well,
all right,
I'll
Dave.
go. I'll go. Luke McCaffrey with 220 total yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. I think
All
he
right.
was definitely the best offensive threat we had in the field the whole game. And defensive side, wow. Let's see. You know
It's
what?
tough, isn't
Let
it?
me. It is. It is very tough. And I'll go ahead and give it to. Well, I'll give it to Jeremy Reeves. 4 tackles in the game and 4
Four.
assists. There we go.
Okay.
I'll give it to Jeremy Reeves because nobody else in that defense sure as heck deserves it.
No,
True.
they really didn't. All right,
It's a
I'll go
deflated
defense.
game ball.
These
Yeah,
are all
there
these
you
are
go.
all very deflated game balls. I'll give it to Mikey Sandersill because I think that was our first pick of the season by this defense. So,
That
know.
is, it was. That's
Yeah.
That was our first turnover. You're right.
yep. So good for you, Mike. You got that. And then on offense, like you guys said, it is not pretty. Let's give it to Matt Gay because he didn't miss a field goal. So good job, Matt.
I'm gonna have Marshawn Lattimore present the game ball to Drake London on bended
That-
knee.
There you go.
Can he bend his knees anymore?
It doesn't matter. He's gonna be on bended knee.
I think Marshawn Lattimore and I have the same knees. That's going to require like help getting up for him.
It's a price you pay for sucking.
Right. Me or him? Who?
Him.
All right. Let us move on. Those are not my game notes. Those are other things. All right. Opening up the right notepad right now. We got to talk about the team roster moves. That's the next big topic, of course. Uh, the big news. Two big names possibly coming back soon. Sam Cosmi is in the window. If you don't know, the window means he can come off IR and 21 days, starts practicing, coaches can really start evaluating him for the next 3 weeks, and then make the determination if he can get off of the IR list. So Cosmi, that is one big story. We could use some help at guard, I feel like, right now. That would be good. Uh, and then the bigger story, of course, is Jaden Daniels is now healthy and ready to play, approved by the doctors. He will be back in the lineup starting next week. So that can't be understated enough how important that'll be. This team will only go so far without Jaden Daniels, and that so far is probably more like a 6-win team without him.
Well, I mean, he hasn't proved that he hasn't been good this year either.
No, those first 2 games were a little rough.
Yes.
Yeah. He didn't make any
Let's just be
mistakes, but
honest.
yeah.
Yeah. He didn't look like he did last year.
No.
I mean, but those moves really pale in comparison to. I mean, there's a couple other moves that are way more important. I mean, I think the most important one clearly is that Washington signed somebody named Robbie Chosen to the practice squad. I mean, that's a Super Bowl move right there. But you've told me this is actually Robbie Anderson, who is a
Right.
weirdo and changed his name to Robbie Chosen.
Yep.
Okay. I would cut him just for that reason alone, personally. But
See, Steve hates a name change. He really does.
well, it's a stupid name. Chosen. What are you? Are you a religious figure now? I mean, what is that? Robbie Chosen?
I did not dig deep enough to know what or when he changed it. But if you want to know, Robbie Anderson was at one point a 1,000-yard receiver for the Carolina Panthers. I think this was like 5 or 6 years ago. And he fell off a cliff.
And now he's a weirdo with a different name on a practice squad.
Right. So that was the big story today. And of course, John the Baptist, or Jean Baptiste, as you French
Yeah,
people
the
call
chosen
him.
one and John the Baptist. He was
Yeah.
put on an IR, and then Antonio Hamilton was signed to the active roster from the practice squad. They'd elevated him last week.
Yeah, they elevated him. Yeah.
So,
Which,
by the way, if anybody doesn't know the rules, you can only elevate guys. I forget the number, something like 4 games a year, or something like that.
I
Before
think
you have
can
to
elevate them and you can only elevate a certain number of guys each week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only a couple you can elevate, but you can't keep elevating them. It's something like along the lines of 3, 4, 5 games, and
Right.
that's it. And then you have to sign.
It's kind of like what redshirting is now in college. They do a similar.
Well, what
thing.
it is to prevent people from taking advantage of players
Right.
on the practice squad, is what it is.
Right, exactly. There's always these little games they love to play. Man, the injury bug has hit this team. That was one of my little notes that I put down. That Washington got hit by the injury bug earlier this year. John Baptiste going down is obviously not great. He's been a good, solid contributor. No word on Terry McLaurin coming back. That was the other injury news.
Bigger question is whether the team's losing anything by not having him out there.
Well, I would say yes, even
Am I
if
being
he's
overly
not.
negative?
Yeah, I think
Little
you're being
bit.
overly negative. Even if he's not a 100% like elite Terry McLaurin, he's still
Better than Moore.
Yeah. Yes, he's better than Chris Moore.
That's a really low par, though.
Yeah, okay.
Better than Chris
well, I
Moore is
mean-
not saying much.
Yeah, but he was our 4th receiver, so I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Not saying much of our receiving core in general.
Yeah.
But as far as Robbie Anderson, though, he changed the name after feeling that God led him to the change, wanting to re-identify himself for a new legacy and to reflect on positive transformation and fresh start in his life and faith. There you go. That is information you will only get here on the Hogsty.
From Wikipedia. Steve is
I'm
falling
sorry,
asleep.
I'm yawning. What a load of crap, just for the record.
Hey,
Hey.
listen, man. Some people have that spiritual following, and they get
They
that
don't
transformation.
rename themselves the chosen one, Dave.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen,
Have a spiritual awakening. I'm all in favor of it. I'm more religious than you might expect. I'm not going to rename myself Chosen. Okay.
Well, it's really a humble renaming is what it is. because that's what your religion's all about, right? Is being
Look,
humble and
I know a guy who changed his last name recently, who's my age. He changed his last name, and he did so because of a dispute with his father. I can understand that. I don't have that issue, thankfully,
right.
but so he changed his name to his mother's last name. Okay, I can understand that. What he didn't do is change his name after a Bible disciple.
Well, this isn't even a Bible disciple.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, but
it's actually a show. The Chosen.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So
it's all the disciples.
He's implying chosen one. He's sort of implying some sort of biblical.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
This isn't even like the Cassius Clay changing to Muhammad Ali or someone
No.
Yeah. This is.
I think we got to get him on the show just so I can make fun of him for his name.
Because I assume he was already a Christian to begin with, Robbie Chosen. I assume he did not convert from one faith to another here.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just guessing that Robbie Anderson was already a Christian. You didn't need to make a big change. Chad Ochocinco's name change made more sense to me than this, honestly.
Did he really change his name to Ochocinco though?
Yes, he did. Yep.
I mean, he's a fool, but
yes, he is. Yes. Let me change my name to my number and do it wrong because I don't understand Spanish. Because he changed his name to 85, not 85.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it would be 85.
Right.
Would be the actual 85. But I mean, 85, okay. It's dumb, but
he was close.
Yeah, it's about all you can expect from a guy like that.
Yeah. The injury bug, speaking of, hasn't just hit Washington though. We were talking about this before the show. Lamar Jackson just got hurt. He's going to be out a couple
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. With what would you say it was, a hammy?
Yeah, hamstring.
Yeah. Man, with these running quarterbacks, leg injuries are also.
I want to say that's the first serious injury he's ever had, though.
Yeah, he might have had one where he missed a game, but it's pretty rare. He's stayed very healthy. The other big one, the tragedy of Tyreek Hill. He went down. He's done.
And that one right there really hurts Steve. I mean, that bothers him. I can see it.
It bothers me. I really sympathize with Tyreek Hill because I sympathize with a guy who punched his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach.
Right.
Has been charged multiple times as domestic violence. Has been arrested numerous times. He's a total scumbag. I have absolutely no sympathy for him whatsoever. I don't wish harm on him, but I shed not one tear for his pain.
In his defense, Steve, he also has 20 other kids by 20 other women, doesn't he?
Probably.
Yeah.
He is a guy who deserves no sympathy whatsoever. He's a total scumbag of a person who punches a pregnant girlfriend in the stomach.
Yes, of course.
Right.
And he had that issue with the cops last year,
which is the stupidest. If he just shut up and not been obnoxious, he wouldn't have gotten arrested.
Right. He dumb people do dumb things. That's
he's not just dumb. He's a scumbag, though. That's what I don't like about him.
Well, I think most scumbags are dumb. It's just
but you can be dumb and not a scumbag. What I'm saying.
That's true. I've known many dumb people who are very nice.
Right.
You're right. Yeah. We may have done shows with them. I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's possible.
The other story that I saw just before the show, Xavier Howard retired mid-season. I always am fascinated by guys who you're on a contract, you're making millions of dollars, and middle of a season you retire. It's one thing if you do it end of the year, I get it. But we're in week 5. And this guy's hanging up.
He's just not feeling it anymore. Maybe he has all the money he needs. It doesn't. He's got vested retirement.
He said it was about a family thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see
maybe has
much
sick
detail.
Mother. I mean, who knows?
I get it. Maybe his grandma cut her leg, and
Possible.
But, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, he is 32. So in NFL years, he is a senior, right? He's kind of getting up there.
He's certainly, he's above middle aged by NFL years.
Oh yeah, way past middle age at 32. All right.
Oh, just to add one more injury, you also had Malik Neighbors ACL.
Oh yeah, that's the one that's probably most relevant to Washington just because it's NFC East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of obviously it's horrible timing for the Giants because they just started Jackson Dart, who
Mhm.
they beat the Chargers, who we got to get to the Chargers game preview here in a minute.
Yeah.
But losing the Blink Neighbors is a massive, massive loss.
That was a weird injury too, just the way he kind of landed to hurt himself.
That's
Like,
typically how you
yeah.
tear ACLs, weird
Yeah.
injuries.
Yep. All right. Well, why don't we get to the Chargers thing, like you said? We have a few minutes left. Let's talk about this game.
I'm gonna give a hint. This game is not gonna go well.
No, probably
End of,
not.
End of hint.
End of hint, indeed. All right, Steve. Why don't you give us any pertinent numbers
Okay.
or stuff that we need?
Well, okay. So here's my thoughts on this game.
Yeah.
The Chargers don't actually have a Bijan Robinson type of player in this. They have a run game, but the run game isn't all that great. What they do have is one of the best passing games in the NFL. They've got Justin Herbert, who is certainly anybody's top 5 list.
Yeah.
They've got Keenan Allen. They've got a couple other receivers, Lad McConkey. They have a bunch of receivers and an outstanding quarterback. And so I think a huge key to this game, to me, with that in mind, Washington secondary is the biggest key to the game. Can these guys finally get their act together? And you're laughing, but it's they're going to matter the most.
Yep.
But the other two, I think, consistent running game for Washington, this game more than any other, and sustained long drives, because the only real way to defeat teams like the Chargers, unless you can match up for them pound for pound, which Washington can't in the passing game, is to keep them off the field and start racking up a ton of clock time on offense.
Yeah. No question
So
about
to
that.
me, that's whether Washington could do that, I don't think they can, but that's the key. And if you want to look up some interesting matchups here, if Terry McLaurin plays, he's going to be facing down Derwin James, who's an elite safety. That's an interesting matchup. Obviously, Trey Amos and Marshall Lattimore versus Keenan Allen. And the other one, to me, in the interior, considering what we said about the interior of Washington's defensive line, is Mekhi Becton and Daron Payne. Those are the ones I'd watch. But to me, that's it. It's secondary play, run game, long drives. To me, that's the key to this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think no question. Like Herbert, there's been some questions if he's really living up to the hype of what he was coming out of college. But he is a really good, solid quarterback. Like you said, he is probably top 5 in most people's estimation. I think some people really had higher expectations than that, which was kind of mind blowing at the time when he was coming out. I look at the Chargers. To me, it's also about their coach. Steve mentioned all the players. We're talking about one of the most capable football coaches right now. We're talking about a coach who's, he won 2 years ago? Was it now? That he won the national championship in college, Harbaugh?
Yeah, a couple years ago, yeah. 3 years, I think now. Something like that, yeah. 2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. They're not gonna be sleeping, or they're not gonna take Washington lightly coming in here. This is gonna be a tough game for Washington to out scheme the Chargers.
Well, the one thing that I think is going to, because I just saw this afternoon that Joe Alt is also out for this game, so they already lost Slater in the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
Alt is now gone. They have no real good tackles on the outside, and we have an effective pass rush. And with both of their tackles gone out of this game, I mean, Herbert's been good but not great this year. And he's not the most mobile quarterback, but he can navigate the pocket well. And I think our run defense will stand up well against their rush offense. But even with that said, though, you still have to be careful with Omarion Hampton because he is a high-end talent. He's a rookie. So right now he got done having a big. I believe he had over like 130 some odd yard rushing last week, I mean, he's gaining more and more steam each week. If they sleep on him, he could very easily run over you very, very easily. But with them missing both their top end tackles, and for as well as Washington plays against the run, I think their defense won't be shredded nearly as much as they just got done going through. And I think offensively, if Jaden Daniels is at least 85% of himself, I think our run game will match up well against their run defense. So I think there are some opportunities in this game for them. I don't think they will be embarrassed in this game. I think the game will remain close and competitive, but that's about it. I don't see a win out of this game at all, though.
I should admit, I'm glad, and I missed a couple minutes because my dog had to go relieve himself. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they are missing a couple offensive linemen is relevant, to injury. I don't think yes, has Herbert looked like an MVP? Maybe not this year. But I also think that they're probably ticked off at themselves over losing to the Giants.
And that's a huge yes. I agree.
Much like Atlanta was embarrassed, by the Panthers. And I just think I don't think it's going to be close. Washington has to travel all the way across country, to Los Angeles for this game. I think this is not going to go well.
The good news is it's a late night game at least.
Yeah.
Well, it's a 4 o'clock. It's a late afternoon game. Yeah.
I think this would be a gut check game for Washington after this embarrassing loss. That's why I think the game, will be kind of relatively close in some aspects and everything. I think they'll be competitive because I think they'll have something to kind of prove at the same time. Because let's be honest, this Atlanta game was a very, very embarrassing game for them too.
They humiliated themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that will play a little bit of a factor into it.
I think we all agree they got humiliated last week. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, just looking at the news, Derwin James and Bitcoin, they were limited in practice, so they're not 100% either. Those two, so that's good news because James is probably their best defensive player overall.
Well, that's why I was saying, I mean, he's certainly most accomplished. I think if McLaurin gets out there, it's an interesting matchup to see, how Derwin James and Terry McLaurin match up.
Right, with both of them hurt. Now, the real question is how much can Washington take advantage of Benjamin St-Juste being on that team?
Well, I mean, it depends on how, Washington's receivers have been blah this year.
Right.
So I'd say maybe not too much.
My number one priority would be, hey, Jaden, look for Benjamin St-Juste. Do you see where he is on the field?
They know that. They know him.
Look at that general direction on every throw, please. Just that's where you start. That's my offensive strategy for the week. My defensive strategy, and Steve, you kind of mentioned it. Just bench. What's his name at corner, and we'll see how
Lattimore.
Let's bench Lattimore and see what happens.
I mean, it's not going to happen.
I can dream.
Here's a hot take: if they bench Lattimore, we win the game.
There you go. That's a hot take.
If they bench Lattimore, we win the game.
I dream about a lot more fun things than benching Marshawn Lattimore, Alex.
I don't.
that is Alex's dream. Sad dream, but okay.
Yeah, it is. All right, guys. Let's do the scores and end this thing. I'm gonna come out. By the way, I was looking at our game predictions. We all predicted a loss to start, so
yeah.
I'm gonna stick with that. Washington loses this. I do think it's tight. I think it's gonna be something in the 27 to or 28-27 kind of range, that type of close game.
Okay.
And I think Luke McCaffrey would get 200 all scrimmage yards again and get another touchdown in this game, but I see a 28-24 loss.
Yeah, I think I'm predicting 30-20 loss is what I have. And I think the Chargers are actually going to turn on a little bit in this game just because they humiliated themselves last week. So 30-20.
Yeah, both teams coming off of rather embarrassing losses last week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that should wrap up this week's show. We will see you all next week after the game. Remember, it's a 4 o'clock start, like we said, so you can go outside on Sunday and
Yeah.
I don't know,
Do you guys
pick
realize,
pumpkins.
and this will end on this, Washington does not have another 1 o'clock game until
For the rest of the-
December.
Yeah.
And that's away, right? That's one in Dallas, right?
It's
Christmas Day, right?
Minnesota. And no, it's
Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
On December 7th.
It's like
Okay.
8 games in a row or something like that, or 8 weeks in a row without
Evening game, afternoon, evening, 2 evening games.
Right. One in the
Afternoon in
middle,
Brazil, one in the morning in Brazil. You know,
not
it's,
Brazil,
yeah.
Barcelona.
Sorry, I put Brazil.
And
I meant Barcelona.
yes, I will
yeah.
be crazy enough to go to that Monday night game. Oh, and real quick, the food selection's so much better now for the Gold members. They
Good.
have actually have hamburger sliders, the beef sliders, waffle fries. I mean, they have mac and cheese. They have a wide variety of things now. I was
Do
actually
they have a
glad you're-
nice? Do they have a nice salad section for guys like Steve and now myself who are trying to get healthy?
no salads, no.
I'm
No.
glad you're enjoying the bougie life in the gold section.
Go back to the
I gotta
nosebleeds,
enjoy it now
Dave.
before they get to that new stadium.
When
Yeah.
you won't be able to afford the gold section anymore.
Yeah.
Correct. I won't be able to afford season tickets at all anymore.
Yeah. All right, guys. That wraps up the show on that fun note of just fear of the new stadium.
Kobe
So-
says goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.
Yeah, sorry, I missed a couple.